Hi, and welcome to the Fierce Boys podcast. I'm your host, Brigette Gildemaster. This is a podcast for those who are ready to leave behind survival mode after abuse, where we talk about what it looks like to embody who you are as an individual, learn to love yourself, and bring to light healing after surviving abuse from relationships and religion. Pop your earbuds in to hear heartfelt and powerful intensity from myself and guests. Be ready to put into place actual tools and gather insight for you to use on your healing journey. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Brigette Gildemaster. I am going to share to you today the amazing tool and art of journaling. So you've heard me talk about it on other podcasts, mention it very briefly, mention it. Other guests have mentioned it several times, if not now, coming up in some future recordings as well. And I'm just so excited to share this piece with you in more depth because it is a real tangible tool that can be used every single day, twice a day, more than twice a day if you want to, if time allows, but also in your busy schedule. It is such a tool that can be used just quickly, just really quickly in the morning or in the evening before you go to bed. And I want to share with you just some simple questions. If you're like, yeah, that sounds great, I'd love to journal, but I don't know what to journal about, or, I don't know how to dig deeper, or, I don't have a book that has questions in it. All those things that I've heard people say. And if you're thinking it right now, I'll probably cover it. If not, drop the question below and I will answer it. I love journaling. I have honestly journaled since I was a kid. I loved the idea of journaling. I loved the concept. Probably back in the 90s, it was more seen as a diary, which was also not shined upon in my upbringing. How dare you have secret thoughts or thoughts of your own? And usually they were, condemned because you were probably having bad thoughts, because of course you are a dirty, rotten, sinful human being. Oy. Which is not the case. And so from a very young age, I have always enjoyed writing down my thoughts, journaling. I wrote stories, I've always been an author from the very beginning, right? So that is what this healing journey is all about, is as much as I don't agree with coming back to yourself, but there are aspects of yourself that you do come back to because you knew yourself best at a young age. I really believe like 8 and 12 years of age are very impactful. I think we knew ourselves the very best. There's some really special times, at least for me, during those ages, and just the development I was going through and some things emotionally that I worked through. And so I feel like we do come back to those things and we're like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. I've since become a published author. I've made that happen. There will be so much more in the works and down the future coming with that as life keeps going on. But there's things like that we come to. I know some people are artists, they've come back to drawing, painting, all of that. My daughter's an artist, and I hope she carries that tool with her forever, because what an expression of ourselves as individuals. I think is absolutely beautiful. Just different things like that. And I've heard, oh my goodness, I've heard old people in their older years, in their 30s and 40s, and women I've talked to who have been like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're really good at that. I knew you were good at that. Like, why would you think you're not good at that? And it's just so amazing to me how we forget the root of ourselves. So that's a little bit about me and my past in journaling. And then, so, I've been drawn to it anyway. So I'm drawn to journaling from a young age in my roots, but also it is a tool that you can learn, because there is no wrong answer. Yes, you can optimize it and there's more to it and you can get into it. But so much of I find just experiencing a tool is a lot of healing. There's things I've done where I might not continue to do them, but they did serve me in that moment. So if you are feeling the draw of like, yeah, like that makes sense, I want to try that, just try it. You don't have to carry it with you, and it doesn't have to be this huge impactful thing for you as it was for me. I'll share here in a little bit more. But just give it a go and see what comes of it, see what comes out, So I started journaling again back in 2020. I was actually taking a class to write a book and be a speaker and just to help with all of that. And I found that I needed to brain dump a lot more before I ever started sharing my story, because so much is coming out. I just kept feeling like that's not essential to the story, but it just kept coming up for me. So I would stop and I would, journal about that and get it out. And this kept happening to me over and over again. Instead of being able to get to the meat or the shareable part of my story, all these details surrounding it and my emotions I hadn't worked through yet kept coming up for me. And so I would just stop and I would journal about it. And I ended up doing a book form of journaling just for myself, because it just helped me process so much. And I just wrote pages upon pages upon pages. I know I've thrown numbers out there, and I should have looked it up before I started this podcast, but I just wrote thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of words in chapters. And I think it ended up being like 15 to 19 chapters or something like that. And just kept typing just as it flowed through me. I mean, I typed for 3 hours a day. I'm a very fast typer. And so it just came easy to me and it flowed out of me so fast. And I was able to process so many things. So I would get up. Well, actually, let me step back a little bit. If you haven't heard of brain dumping, it's another form of journaling that is absolutely amazing. So that is the method I started with, because um it was just helpful to me. So you just write whatever comes to mind. And the original concept of it is to take 10 minutes and to just start writing. So even if you're not inspired, even if this is new to you, and I did this sometimes, like I use this concept, you just start typing or writing. I my hand cramps, so I type, but just what is coming to your head. So if you're not feeling inspired this morning, you go ahead and just, God, I'm so tired today. I don't know why I'm tired. I can't really wake up. This coffee is amazing. I really shouldn't put ice cream in my coffee at 5 a.m., but I did anyway. I hope the kids sleep in for a little bit. The sky is blue. I think I might put some flowers in my flower bed this year. You just start journaling whatever comes to mind. And in that, you'll get to the meat of it. And you'll get to something that is bothering you, especially in the morning when our brains aren't fully awake yet and conscious. Like when I did this, I was getting up at like 3 a.m. It was spring, so it was really easy to do. I don't recommend doing that in the winter months. Rest, your body needs rest in the winter. However, the winter is a great time to do healing on the inside, because we can be inside and we can be cozied up. And I want to say lazy, but it's not being lazy. It is some of the most impactful work you will ever do to work on yourself and dig through these feelings. Um, so this was spring for me when this all came about. And so from 5 to, like when the kids would wake up 7, 8, 8:30 in the morning, I would just type and type and type. And so being those early hours, sometimes, my brain wasn't clicking yet. And the thoughts that constantly plagued my head were not circulating yet, thankfully, right? But I wanted to get to those thoughts. It was time to face them. So instead of getting up and having to get going with my day and having these incidences that had happened in my past just haunting me and replaying over and over in my head, I was ready to face them. And I did that through this journaling. So I would get my juices flowing, if need be, by the brain dump method. If I already had something like, I'm going to journal about that tomorrow, then I would do that, or if I woke up knowing what I wanted to journal about, I would just do it. I would just start there and be like, this one time when, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but, or this incident where, in my parenting, I handled it this way, and to just type out what happened. So yes, sometimes I was reliving the experience to share the experience was enough. Other times I was typing out the emotions around, or all of it, but starting out by typing out the emotions around it and what I felt and trying to dig deeper to the root cause. Why did I feel that way? Why did this irritate me so much? Why was this such a trigger? Why couldn't I respond better? Um, why is this person's comment bothering me so much? Why am I letting this incident? Why do I feel guilty about this incident that happened? Are just a few of the things, and I type it out and just whatever came. There's no wrong answer. Whether you type it out and relive it, or whether you type out the emotions around it, or you dig deep, or you just start typing and asking the questions around it. There is no wrong answer to journaling out what you're trying to get through. There is no wrong answer. Just start. That is the biggest thing. And I think, even I don't believe that we have to relive experiences to heal through them, but that's what I did. And that was enough. There were incidences I had played in my head and felt guilty about since childhood. And by journaling them out and rationalizing the emotions around them and accepting them and embracing myself, and maybe even replaying out what should have happened, or why, what I wished I had felt in that moment, or how I wished I had acted, was enough. And honestly, I can't even tell you half the things I journaled about now. Those hundreds of thousands of words. I can't even tell you some of those stories. And some of those stories plagued, excuse me, some of those stories absolutely plagued my brain for years on that never ending hamster wheel of guilt and, feeling of regrets and all of it. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's all gone because I journaled it out and got to the root cause of what was going on, and was able to embrace myself and acknowledge myself for how things went down in that moment, and know that I am always perfect and whole exactly how I am. And I am always doing the best I can with the knowledge and tools I have in that moment. I can't guilt myself for something I didn't know in the past. That's not fair to me. You can't live like that. It will eat you up inside and kill you. And you can't judge others the same way. You can't judge other people for what they didn't know in that moment, or how they should have handled something differently. We all are perfect exactly the way we are right now in this moment, trying our best and doing our hardest. And we can accept that and embrace ourselves for that, and sit with ourselves for that. Go back and sit with those versions of yourself and tell yourself what a good job you did and how proud you are of her. And it's an absolutely beautiful experience that can be indescribable at the same time as, just, you can feel I'm gushing about this. I love journaling. 2020, as much as, oh my God, everything that happened in 2020 was one of the most I cannot talk today. Why do I run a podcast? 2020 was one of the most pivotal um points in my healing journey. I healed leaps and bounds that year. Um I would say the end of 2023 would have been my next very big jump in healing. But so much changed for me in 2020. And a huge amount of it was due to actually being able to set down this baggage that I had been carrying with me for years. And in 2023, when I took another huge leap of healing, it was into a different version of myself that I wouldn't have been able to go into had I still been carrying around everything from my past. And so they both have their own places, and this is where I started and where my journey took me. So a huge other aspect of that was I journaled about gratitude a lot. Um, I was just in a negative place back then. And as much as, I looked happy and sunshine on the outside, I always have people telling me how happy I am. And it you never know what's going on in a person's head. And so, or at home, I still had three very small children at the time. And it just still constantly feeling like a failure because of my religious situation and my divorce at the time. And different people telling me what the way my life should have looked. And so I also did so much journaling around gratitude, which helped rewire my brain in so many ways. Yes, I am a very joyous person. Most of the time, I'm the first one to jump up and want to do all the things, but it was getting to the point where even for me, that was hard to live out. I wasn't as happy as I could have been for me and who I wanted to be. I wasn't able to actually live that out in the day to day, and I definitely wasn't able to live that out in my with my children, which is always a huge aspect for me. When I am not able to reflect a version of me that I want my kids to see, it starts to become a huge problem for me because I don't want them growing up with that negative attitude at home while we put on smiley faces when we go out the door. And so I would another part of that was, picking very specific things I was grateful for every day. And I actually found a journal at Target that helped me with that. I found several journals at Target that helped me with that. So I highly recommend checking out Target's journal section because they have amazing journal prompt books. One of them was 300 Things About Me. That was one I used honestly in the very beginning because in the speaking course I was taking, she does moments to meaning. And so you take these moments that you've experienced and turn them into a pivotal meaning in your life to share with your audience. And I just found myself not remembering so much of my childhood and my past because of the trauma that I had been through. And so I got this book that asked you questions, and it was the silliest questions, but they meant so much to me because it brought back so many memories, so many good memories that I had just, because of what I'd been through in my 20s that I just been shoved down. So it was silly things like what was like a favorite thing in your room? What was a favorite item in your room? What was your, a pet? It would ask you questions about your pets. What was some specific memories? And it was much more detailed than that. It's packed away right now in a box. Otherwise, I'd hold it up for you. But it was 300 things about me. It was gold letters with blue. And I know they still have it because I see it there. And I'm like, oh, that book. I love that book. And I would just go through and answer that. And then my words would expand off those pages because it is just a little prompt. Just has like a section, if you can see my video, but um, a little prompt box with multiple questions on a page or just one page. And so those questions, some of them prompted chapters of things that I was able to work through and think about and, process. And so I highly recommend that. They also had another one on gratitude, and it would ask very specific questions. And since then, I've found some more, and I've actually collaborated on my own, or not collaborated, pulled together all of those things and made my own journal, which you can find on my website. I'll get into that later though. But these questions you would ask to set intention, and so to set the intention for the night before and then in the morning, which was so huge for me to set that intention the night before of what I actually wanted. I've always had this vision of what I wanted to be in life. And as we just keep going here, I am 28, 29. And this woman that I thought I would be in my adult years is nowhere close. And I know all millennials can feel that way, we all feel like we're nowhere near where we're supposed to be. And there's many reasons for that. We should never guilt ourselves for that. But there was also this certain style of woman that I knew I wanted to be, and it wasn't happening or organically. And we have to have goals set, but there's not also a checklist to that. But setting the intention to be the woman you want to be is a huge part of that. And that was another pivotal key of what I was missing. And so, I had every intention of getting up in the morning, but to actually write it down and be like, tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to do XYZ. And, at the end of the day, this is what I'm grateful for from today. And these are the things I'm going to wake up being grateful for tomorrow. There is a ton of science now, but there's a huge aspect of what you think before you go to bed and what you wake up with is hardwired into your brain. So if you're thinking negative thoughts going to bed, you're going to wake up thinking negative thoughts. If you're watching a horror film going to bed, you're going to wake up with some pretty negative feelings. If you're, you know, if you go to bed after an argument, you're going to wake up feeling crappy. If you go to bed after a horrible night of trying to get your kids to bed, it kind of kills the mood for the next day. You're just exhausted and carrying that into your sleep cycle and everything else. And there's so much research on this now too, which is amazing. But so in setting the intention of gratitude, no matter how rough we had a night of going to bed with the kids or my day or anything, I made sure to answer these questions and carry that gratitude. I remember just clinging to these things I was grateful for as I fell asleep and saying them over and over into myself, even after I journaled them, to just carry that feeling into the next day. And it worked. It was so amazing. So setting that intention for your next day, how you're gonna feel is it happens the night before. And that's all a part of journaling. So it's a morning and evening journal routine, which I don't currently do, but it has saved my life many times in the past to just get on track with that. I did it after my move last summer, and it got me back on track. Like you move, everything's different, and all the things, and getting back into a routine and everything. And I was struggling so hard, and one of my coaches was like, have you journaled the night before you go to bed? I'm like, oh my God, that is like what I tell everybody to do. And she brought that to my attention again. So I pulled out my own journal prompts and started journaling. And within a few days, a week, I don't remember how long it was. It was not long. It got me, oh, excuse me, it got me right back on track, and I was ready to go, and I haven't used it again. So this is a tool you can come back to. Like, it's not this thing, and I know we all know this now, but growing up in the 90s, when you make this new resolution to, whatever, it's something you have to stick to, this strict regime. And it's not like that. This is a tool. This is a tool for you to pull out of your box whenever you need it. And whether that's one day, whether it's getting into the habit of it, praise yourself for doing it that one time. You do it tomorrow, you do it tonight, or and then you skip tomorrow and you do it the next day, or you do it every Saturday night. I like to get my planner ready for the week on Sunday night. But if that's what you do, then great. If you do it once a week and just set those intentions and work in some gratitude, work in some brain dumping, and working through the stories. You don't have to do it every day. I was very privileged to have that time and space at that season in my life to be able to heal in those ways. And if you don't have that, work it in when you can, and be so proud of yourself for doing that, for taking that time for you when you can. And thank yourself for even the little amount that you do, because it is all so worth it. And be proud of that. Be extremely proud of that. So, yeah, so in that, I wanted to also highlight and share, I have a free journal template on my website. Just go on there and fill out the form. It's in the pop-up, or it's also in the menu bar. It's probably at the bottom of some of the pages if you're really desperate and can't find it. But if you're on there, and just fill out the form, and it'll automatically send it to your inbox. But I wanted to go over some of the things that are in there in more depth. A lot of it I just talked about, um, but I wanted to read through it and look at it while I'm talking about it a little bit more for you. So it starts off with an explanation of every page for you, so you know exactly what you're getting into, what to do. And then the journal prompts start off in the evening, because, if you're listening to this today, what better time to start than tonight? Don't make that hopeful intention of like, yeah, I'll get up and do that. Go ahead and just do it tonight. Just do it tonight. Set your day off right for tomorrow. So these were some of the things I've pulled from multiple journals. Like I said, Target has some amazing ones. I know some of these are still there, so I do give credit to Target for that. Others are some that I just found on my own. Like, in doing that, I'm like, I really wish this was in here, and I s- write it in on my own, or I found it from some other Instagrammers or Pinterest or, whatever. And I've just pulled this all together to create my own daily survivors journal that you can use. And you can use this template. You can, I said, I like to type. And so I would just download this on my computer and use it that way. If you want to print it off, you definitely can. It is highlighted so that the boxes will show up, even though it's pretty purple. But you can definitely do it either way, whatever works for you. If you have any suggestions as to how this would be if you do use it, you can always shoot me a message or an email and I will work on that to the best of my abilities. But yeah, so it starts off with the evening routine, and picking a word of the day is the first prompt. This is so important to me. Um, Being that journaling is so much of a reflection, and that's how I worked through things. Naming that day, there is there's no bad day, there's only bad moments. And even in those moments, how bad are they really, depending on your situation. But being able to reflect on that and being able to name it and being able to, if it was a whole bad day, if you're still in the trenches of some really shitty stuff, if it's a bad day, you can say today was a bad day. That's okay. You can name today. And I feel like allowing ourselves to actually not be in that constant gratitude or constant fake happiness, I should say, would be a better way to put that. Constant fake happiness of, yeah, I'm going through this, but it's okay. It's all okay. We're trained to say that, right? Like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing okay. How are you doing? Oh, it's okay. I'm fine. And being able to, in your own private space that you've created at home, your safe space, whatever that is, whether it's, in the rocking chair, on the couch, laying in bed, being able to journal this out and actually sit there and reflect on today and name it with a word, you know, being able to name it as chaos, being able to name it as, fulfilling, a day of events, crazy, random, being able to just reflect on that and be honest with yourself and not put on that fake smile, um, or fake attitude. Could even be a fake negative depending on your environment you're in, and actually be like, no, I was really grateful for today. I'm really proud of how I handled myself today. So, um, summing up today in one word is one of those prompts on the evening ritual. Um, I'll try and go over these a little bit faster, but today I took care of myself. How? Today I took care of others by, how did you do that? And these could be things, that you do every day, but just reflect and be like, yeah, I did that. I'm a big person who I like to check things off. And so I have to remind myself, I went out of my way. I stopped what I was doing. Before I got on that podcast today, I made myself a cup of coffee, and I drank it, and I took care of myself today. I gave myself a moment, especially being a mom, especially if you're a single parent, there's a lot to be thankful for in those small moments and the season that we're in. As much as you need to be taking time for more, sometimes today that's all you did, but you need to acknowledge yourself for doing that for yourself and for others. We feel so good. It releases so much when we know we've been able to help and impact others. What did you do? What did you find joy in today? You know, this podcast largely speaks to women who are in the healing journey, but maybe you're still in the trenches and maybe there is no joy in today. And I hope you get out, and I hope you're able to start finding joy. But on the other side of that, and it's still hard. The healing journey is so dark and lonely, and there's so many facets to that. But what is one thing you found joy in today? Did you get outside to just sit with your bare feet in the grass? Were you able to, you know, sit down for 5 minutes and enjoy your show? Were you able to cook dinner tonight while the kids actually played in the other room? Or, were you able to have a good conversation with someone? You were able to talk to somebody on the phone, or, you know, were you able to clean that pile of papers off the counter that you've been meaning to clean off for weeks? Did you actually find joy in that? I find joy in organizing and a clean house. I'm a minimalist, so clutter is very distracting to me. Just simple things like that. Um, as a reflection of your day. What was good things that excuse me, a good thing that happened to you today? And I have 3 bullet points there. What are 3 good things that happened to you today? Kind of a repeat, but also a reframe on that joy. A good thing that happened to you. There's a mood tracker on there, so you can kind of keep track of your mood, morning, night, what's going on there. Highly recommend you tracking your cycle, following the moon, things like that too. Huge things to take into effect with why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Um, I am proud and accomplished list. So there are 6 bullet points there. Yes, if you can fill those all out every day, I cannot tell you how much that will reframe your brain, rewire your brain, and just start making you feel better. I want you to be proud of every little thing you do. I am a huge advocate of that. Be proud of yourself. Only you know how hard something was for you. And always give yourself that pat on the back. It is so important. Something from today that you're grateful for. Again, very repetitive, but also just a reframe on those words. Sometimes those words, when we're in that survival mode, hit us differently. And then it goes into your intention for tomorrow. I briefly touched on this, but so if your intention for tomorrow is, you want to be up by 5 a.m., you're going to make the muffins before you go to school, or before you get your kids ready for school. You're going to fold the laundry. Make that intent. Tell your brain now it's happened, it's done, so that you do it. It is so important to how we operate the next day. Why do you want to get this done? How will you feel if you actually get up at 5 a.m. and do a journaling session? If you actually get up and do the yoga you want to do? If you actually make the muffins before school? How does that make you feel versus if it doesn't happen? You can also reframe that. I don't have that question on here, but like, how will you feel if this doesn't happen? Should add that one. And like, I say making the muffins because that's a big one for us right now. That's what we've been doing for breakfast, is little mini muffins, and it changes our whole morning when those muffins are made and ready to go. And so me getting up and having those made and ready to go, or doing it the night before, is a game changer. And I feel so much better. My kids are so much happier. It is worth the effort. So knowing why you need to do something and writing it down and making it tangible is so important. How will you embody that? Kind of just went over that. I will embody it by making that time. I will step into that. I will embrace it in XYZ way. Any notes or reminders for the next day, things you need to do. So, and then there's a space here for a brain dump. So that's what I talked about. It's your evening. I have it titled Evening Thoughts, but that's how my intention was for that to be used, was to just start journaling about your day and see where it takes you. It will probably be more than this page that is allotted here, but what is that? Start journaling about the feelings that you have that day, and then go into that thought you've been thinking about all day from your past, that nagging little voice in your head. Start talking to it, sit with it, take that time to heal. And that's the evening side of it. So, and then in the morning, I have your morning intention. So your intentions for today. So now that you're awake again the next day, you've slept, sometimes, things change, and your mood, it depends on your mood, all of that. So your intentions for today, your inspiring word for today, set that intention. How am I going to feel today? What am I going to embrace for today? Just like I've talked about recently with the new year, your word of the year and what that means. And you can do the same and break it down into every day. Just because I pick a word for the year doesn't mean every day embodies that to its fullest extent, but it's my intention for the overall year. Just because today you pick a word of connection doesn't mean it embodies the whole day, but you take some intentional thought around it or action around it, whether it's, you're going on a coffee date today, whatever that looks like for you. The mood tracker is on there again. You can name your mood on there. When you wake up and you get these juices flowing, what are you letting go of? Are you letting go of somebody who's judging you in your head? Are you letting go of what people are thinking of you and saying about you? Are you letting go of your expectations that you have for yourself as a parent? Are you letting go of some expectations you have of yourself in just adulting? The list could go on there. Today, what are you already grateful for? And you can say things that haven't happened yet, but you're already grateful. You're already grateful you're taking your kids to school. You're already grateful for the job you have. You're grateful that you get to stay home today. You're grateful that, you get a 15 minutes of quiet time in the car, whatever that may be. You got $6 extra to grab a latte on your way to work today, whatever that may be. Already write it down as if it's happened, or which is truly what you are grateful for. And what you're excited for. So if you have big plans for today, or if you don't have big plans for today, big or small, what are you excited about today bringing forward? And then there's another space there for another brain dump that morning. And then I also have in here, this is a good one. I actually haven't touched on this yet, but I also have in here a dear space. So another facet of journaling is to write letters, and you can write a letter to whoever you want, and you can always do this forever, and you don't have to send it. You can save it on your computer for another day when you're ready to read those feelings and let them go again. On another level, you can type it out and delete it. You can burn it if you want to, but this is another facet of journaling that is so powerful and another way of just expressing yourself on a level that is very intimate and precious to you. And there are no bad feelings. The way someone has made you feel is valid. You are valid in all of your feelings. It's okay, whether these things were intentional or not. And if you've had that conversation with them and they don't see what they did as wrong and they're not handling it appropriately, all the things, you have the space for you to reconcile that, to say what you want to say to them out of whatever feeling or emotion that is. So that is there as well. And then there is a last and final spot of an express you section where I just had intention. I know sometimes when I was journaling, there were moments of, where should this go? Too many things came up, or, just not, still some stuff didn't come up. And so I'd find myself doodling, drawing, just other ways of expressing myself. And so there's a page for creative journaling as well, for art, for all of that there. So yeah, that is what is in the daily journal. The daily journal for survivors. Like I said, you can find it on my website. It's absolutely 100% free right now. There's some things in the works where I think I'm going to have some more digital programs probably coming down the line, but our digital products. But right now it is 100% free, and this particular version probably always will be. But this, like I said, is just so near and dear to my heart because of how much it just helped me. There's so much in here that helped me, and I know I've heard through stories of other women on this podcast how much it helped them to journal. And so I just felt really led to have this be my next podcast and to share more in depth what that free journal has. And like I said, you can find so many journals at Target. You can find so many journal prompts. I'm sure Amazon has great ones too, if Target does. Target just seems to have certain things that are very specific to them. So highly recommend checking those out and just do what is aligned with you. just because this was so in line with me doesn't mean every facet of it, every question on there is going to align with you or is even going to be worded to you. Change it. Feel free to change and be creative and copy and paste and make your own Word document out of it and change it up and have it be a template for what can work for you. Have it be the starting point to get you to just start journaling and to start healing. So if that's all that it is, I'm happy to share. So I think that's all I have for me today. I hope this was helpful. As always, feel free to shoot me messages, drop comments, let me know what I can do better, what you're needing in your journey, and I'll see what I can do. Happy to hold that space, and just we're all in this together, and I'm here to help, and so many people have helped me. You've heard my story. So I will let you go, and we'll catch you next time on the Fierce Voice podcast.
Thank you for joining us today on the Fierce Voice podcast. I truly hope you found healing insight, tools, and a space held for you in this journey. We are all in this together, and you are not alone. You can find me, your host, Brigette Gildemaster, on all social media platforms, and check out my website at www.brigittegildemaster.com, where you can listen to past Fierce Voice episodes, check out my media features, find my books, and inquire about booking me for your next virtual or in-person event. My keynotes are impactful with real-life stories, actionable tools, and inspiration for healing after a life-altering experience. Or check out my workshop event to learn more about how you can prevent abuse in your area. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time on the Fierce Voice podcast.